Hey, I apologize for having this unrelated video in between part 1 and part 2 of my What If Alejandro and Sierra were in an island video. Don't worry, part 2 is coming out soon. It's just that this week I was diagnosed with COVID and trying to form one coherent thought made me want to split my brain in half. And I still wanted to try and get a video out this week, so I decided to do something that was kind of not really in my genre in hopes of just doing something that wasn't really as stressful or thought-inducing. And now we're here at this video. If you're confused about what I'm going to be doing, it's pretty simple. Basically, for the entire first generation cast, I spin two wheels at the same time to choose two characters. The first character was the design that I was using, and the second character was going to be the stereotype I was stealing from that character to implement on the first character. And now I'm going to show all the designs I came up with.
Warning. I am in no way an experienced artist. All art here wasn't done through a digital art app and done by an inexperienced fool. The artwork you are about to experience is prone to shitty line work, shitty image quality, and general bad design. View at your own risk.
The first design I'll be showing is the one I use in the thumbnail, which is Gwen's character design with Noah's stereotype concept. And this one mixes pretty well actually because they have a very similar sort of archetype, both sarcastic, broody people. So I actually found this one come pretty easily and I was mostly happy with it. I think there's some parts of it that I don't really like, but I don't know, you tell me what you think. The first thing I had to do to Gwen's character was get rid of the goth look, got rid of the makeup, I changed the hair design back to her original hair color, which is brown. I also got rid of her lipstick and kind of added less emphasis on her eyeliner. I ended up keeping her original hair shape because I feel like it worked very well for this design of kind of this, short-haired librarian. I feel like anything else would have made her look a little too focused on other things, which isn't really the point of like Noah's stereotype, kind of like this witty, not really caring guy. I switched around her right eyebrow so that it looks like Noah's with the smirk, and I also gave her some glasses to add onto the know-it-all vibe. And at that point she was starting to look a bit like a librarian, so I decided to lean into that for clothes. I just made her skirt a bit higher, but I changed the colors of them to design more to like a librarian, and then I also altered her platform boots to look more like heels, that way it matched the librarian look. Overall, I really like this look. I feel like it really emphasizes Noah's know-it-all character, but it still really looks like Gwen, and I like that it emulates Noah but doesn't steal anything exactly from his design in particular, because that's kind of a problem I had with some other drawings, which we'll see. But I think this design looks like Noah's stereotype, but it still feels really unique, so I like that. Next up is Sadie's character, mixed with Harold's stereotype. Now, just speaking about stealing too much inspiration from the concept design, this is one I struggled a lot with, because Harold is a really unique character, and his design is very intentionally Napoleon Dynamite, and I had like very little idea of how to implement that without making it look too dorky. So ultimately I did kind of just end up making like Sadie's character, but adding a lot of inspiration from Harold's original design as opposed to his like conceptual stereotype, because I just didn't really know how to implement it onto her. Yeah, she's something, ain't she? Obviously changed her face a decent amount. I got rid of her lipstick and piercing, and I added Harold's glasses since I feel like they were kind of a staple to his design. I do really like what I did for her hair. I ended up trying to give her a more bang with ponytail design. I knew instantly her original pigtails had to go, so I wanted to try and give her something that looked more geeky but didn't come off as too abrasive. As for the clothes, they really take a heavy inspiration from Harold. Obviously the shirt is the same sort of color scheme. I just got rid of the design with the weird little planet burger thing, and I just added a star instead since I feel like that was simpler. And I opted for Sadie to keep her shorts because I feel like the concept of Harold, like, he does have like not athletic moments, but he's like very agile, he's very quick. So like Sadie concept would still kind of want to be able to move very elegantly, and I feel like long jeans are prohibitive. Also the shorts just match the girly look more. And then obviously I switched out Sadie's high heels for more sort of Harold's shoes. I'll be honest, now looking at them again, these fucking suck. I don't know what I did with them. The left one looks way too big. I do like the way this one looks. I think it does look like a cute version of Harold, and I do like that it looks like Harold, but I wish that I could have been a little bit more creative with some of my choices, but I didn't know exactly what to do. Next up we have Justin's character combined with DJ's stereotype concept. Now this is one I struggled a lot with for a while, because if you think about DJ's stereotype, his stereotype is basically like interweaving with his body type. The whole point of a stereotype is that he's this really big, tall, strong guy, and he's afraid of anything. So it's like, how do you implement this really strong guy who's supposed to look fearful onto someone who isn't as strong or isn't as big in Justin? I struggled with how to do that for a decent while, but eventually I kind of decided to lean more into like Justin's strength, his well-built body, as the idea of him being like really strong and well-built, but still looking sort of fearful like DJ. And this is what I came up with. Yeah, I'll admit, he looks a little, I don't really know how to place my finger on it. He looks just kind of odd. Obviously, first things first, I changed his eyes to look more like Total Drama traditional style, not his, pretty boy eyes, because that didn't really work for this design. I altered his eyebrows to look a little bit more worrisome without looking too stressed. I just wanted him to look a little more quizzical. And I ended up changing his hair because his original design hair is like intentionally supposed to be messy, sort of like not caring, but like he's going for the messy look for sort of attention. I didn't feel like that really match what I was going for. So I decided to give him the basic combed up hair, kind of matches his sort of radish boy look. I changed his shirt to be a little crop toppy so you could see some of the muscle definition down below. And I also tried to add a bit more biceps to his arm to again kind of lean into this strong, well-built guy. I took some inspiration from DJ's D on his shirt and did that with DJ by having it be J for Justin. I feel like it's a nice little thing that connects them back but doesn't take away from the design too much. And the legs I altered quite a bit to look like DJ's. Obviously I gave him some bigger calves to match the strong, well-built vibe. And I kept Justin's sandals since DJ's also wearing sandals and I feel like it matches the look. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this one. I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorites. It's kind of in the middle. I do think the vibe it emulates is the one I wanted. I wanted this like strong, kind of fat boyish looking guy, which is what I got. But he does still kind of look like a mama's boy. Like he does look like a bit of a suck up. I do think if I went back now I would have gave him more broad shoulders, but that obviously would be messing with Justin's original concept design. But I feel like the broad shoulders make him look a bit more masculine, which is the point. Again, don't hate it, don't love it. Next up we have Beth's character with Eva's concept design, and oh wow, this one was tough to figure out. This one was a real pain. I went through a couple iterations of this one. Obviously Beth doesn't like emulate any feature of Eva. She doesn't particularly look well built. This is kind of one of those designs that I'm not the most proud of how it turned out, but I do think that I creatively did something I liked a bit. First off, obviously got rid of Beth's glasses. That was part of like the nerd, wannabe, sort of dorky design, which doesn't fit Eva at all, so I got rid of that. I also removed Beth's sort of double chin that's below her mouth, because I feel like that wouldn't match the idea that Beth is like working out like Eva all the time. And the high ponytail was unneeded, so I gave her a low ponytail like Eva. And I altered her eyes and mouth to look a bit more broody, less friendly, a bit more like she's scowling at you. As for the clothes, it was kind of tough. I didn't want to give her shorts because again, I don't think her body shape really matches the idea of like working out a lot. That's not to say anything about Beth, but she just doesn't exactly have that like built feature. And there's obviously not like any rules to what I did, but generally it's like I wanted the new design to still look somewhat like the original design. So changing the body shape and stuff like that wasn't something I was super big on. So I figured that sweatpants suit her better because it still implies physical activity. I decided that a tank top would look well. I decided to go for a bit more of a lighter purple. I didn't want it to look as harsh as Eva's. And that's mainly because a lot of other designs I ended up using also have this sort of dark purple, so I didn't want to have Beth look too similar. I also added some bandages around Beth's hand to kind of imply her more as like a fighter instead of working out particularly. I kind of wanted to be more like, you know, she's a wrestler or something like that, boxer maybe. So I feel like that kind of suits her overall vibe a bit more. So with that in mind, I also kept the shoes the same because they're already kind of like, you know, jogging shoes. They already match the design. So the only thing I changed there is I think I changed that one color. Besides that, those stay the same. Next up, we have Harold's character with Lashana's stereotype design. And this is one that I think I probably struggled with the most. I think I did two entirely different versions of this because Lashana, also kind of like DJ, her stereotype is heavily woven into her exact design. Stereotype is basically the token sassy black girl character. So how do you make Harold a sassy black girl? That is the question here. Now obviously I wasn't gonna race swap, I'm not about that. So I tried to go a bit more general with like Lashana's core character, just kind of like confident, stylish character. This is what I came up with. Again, just like Beth, I got rid of the glasses because it didn't match the look. I also straightened the shit out of his neck because for some reason his original design has the most dwarfed over neck ever. So I decided to straighten that out, make him look a bit more confident. I took some inspiration from Lashana's original design for his eyebrows, having them look a little smirky. I also really like Lashana's beauty mark on the left side of her face, so I decided to also add that onto Harold. Now for the afro, I just feel like it looked the best. I didn't really know exactly what to do with Harold's hair. I knew I wanted to change it because his hair, it ain't it. It just didn't work for this design. And I feel like the afro kind of has the vibe of like not necessarily caring, but still has a certain stylish aspect to it. For his shirt, I tried to have something that would conceal his very scrawny nature by giving him a long sleeved loose sweater. I feel like that was the best way to not alter his body shape, but still kind of have him look normal, not too scrawny. And I thought just the orange sweater looked a little flat, so I decided to also add on a little apple or kumquat, whatever's on Lashana's shirt, onto his shirt as well. As for his shoes and pants, they mostly stay the same. I just changed the color of his jeans to be more color coordinated, and I also changed the shoes to be more color coordinated for his shirt. However, I also added V's on the top parts of both of Harold's shoes. And the V is a reference to a Roman numeral, which is 5, and that's connecting to Harold because his full name is like Harold nerd name the 5th. So that was a way for him to add, you know, he's the 5th of his kind, which I think was a nice little Easter egg to kind of hide. and also gave his design a bit more character. Next up we have Izzy's character design mixed with Sadie's stereotype design. Now you might notice to the left that I actually used Katie instead of Sadie, and that's just because Katie's body shape is closer to Izzy, and Katie and Sadie basically have the same design. So I just ended up using Katie to draw her, so it made it easier to kind of connect back. As for this design, I'm not 100%. I think it looks cute, I think it goes for the design it goes, but the issue is that it's designed intentionally not super character involved. It's supposed to kind of just be a carbon copy of like what obviously the other person who got Katie looked like together. However, I did decide to go a bit further. I wanted to give her clothes that still kind of match the preppy pink girl vibe without just straight up copying Katie and Sadie. So this is what I came up with. Now I kept Izzy's eyes and eyebrows the same, since they're pretty similar to Katie and Sadie's design already. Wide open eyes, small eyebrows, so I didn't change anything there because I feel like they already matched perfectly. I altered her hair to match the pigtails design to make her look a bit more formal and girly, but I also wanted to keep remnants of her curly, messy hair at the bottom, so I added it to the bottom of the pigtails, which I think looks kind of cute. I massively changed the outfit. I gave her a very similar top to Katie and Sadie, but just kind of switched around the colors so that's white and pink instead of black and white, just because one, I wanted to be a bit more creative, but I also just think the white looks better on Izzy. And for her pants, I ended up not going for shorts because I just feel like it wasn't exactly needed. I think the shorts looked a little goofy on Izzy, so I ended up kind of going for these pink yoga pants since I still feel like they match the design. And then obviously I changed out Izzy's footwear to be a bit more sophisticated. And while we're doing the Sadie concept design, we might as well also just knock out the Katie concept design. This next one being Bridget's character design mixed with Katie's stereotype design. Now like I said for the Sadie one, I wanted to be a bit more creative with what I was doing. So if saying that Bridget's design isn't just a carbon copy of Izzy's design in like a clothes sense, I decided to change it a little bit. It still has the general stereotype color scheme vibe. I just wanted to do something a little bit more creative. So here's what I came up with. Unlike Izzy's eyes, which I feel like already kind of matched the design, I feel like Bridget's were a bit too narrow. They didn't really look as excitable as theirs. So I ended up widening her eyes out a bit to make her look a bit more awake, a little more alive. And I altered the low ponytail to a high ponytail because I just feel like it matches the preppy sort of girl look. And I also think the high ponytail looks really good on her. Now I did want Izzy and Bridget to look somewhat similar, so I did end up going for the same sort of shirt, and I even did the same color scheme, just in reverse. Instead of white with pink stripes, it's pink with white stripes. And same sort of thing for the pants. I wanted long pants that didn't go all the way down to the ankles, but for Bridget I just went for a more hot pink color and gave her jeans instead of yoga pants. Generally though, I kept her shoes the same because I feel like they matched. Again, I just changed the color scheme to be hot pink instead of that. I will say that I like Bridget's design slightly more than Izzy's design for this, just because I feel like it was really hard to imagine Izzy, this like crazy, super disorganized person, as this sort of proper girly look. But Bridget's design actually came pretty naturally. It could also just be because I did it after Izzy, so I already kind of had an idea of what I was going for. But ultimately, I also like Bridget's design more. She's probably like my top 10. I really like the high ponytail. I'm very happy with the way Bridget's turned out. Next up, we have Jeff's character design mixed with Gwen's stereotype. This one was interesting. I won't say it was like difficult. There were definitely ones I struggled with a lot more because I did kind of have a general idea for what I was going to do with Jeff. But I mean, you'll see, he looks interesting, really interesting. So here's what I did for him. First things first, obviously got rid of the hat. The hat just doesn't match this vibe at all. And obviously started to lean into the goth look. Gave him the hair dye, gave him some eyeliner. I even gave him a bit of a choker. However, I didn't really change his facial structure. I feel like his face actually kind of matches the idea. I didn't want to make him look like booty or depressed. That's not really like how Gwen's look. Like if you look at her, she actually looks pretty, smiley, content. So I didn't want to alter that too much with Jeff. Now I ended up keeping Jeff's shirt. And there's a very specific reason for that, which is you'll see later that another guy got Duncan's design. He was already wearing a long shirt and kind of like, gothic look because it's Duncan. So I didn't want Jeff to look too similar to that design with also long sleeves with this booty sort of look. So I decided to keep his shirt and just color code it to the hair. And then I also gave him this sort of, I don't know what you call it in the real world. It's like a see-through fin black shirt because I feel like it matches the look by giving him more clothing. Also, I think the abs are just kind of essential at this point to include because like if you look at him, he's kind of like vampire gothic area. He's supposed to look kind of hot. As for the pants, pretty generic, just, black slacks, match the gothic thing, black match black, loose, pretty basic. And for the shoes, I just switched out of sandals for some, big, tall black boots. Again, I don't want to say this one was hard because it wasn't that hard. I feel like his design actually came kind of naturally to me. It looks really weird. It's really weird to see Jeff like this. But I actually like it. I think it matches him well. And especially, again, with the person who got Duncan later, I was worried that this design would look too intimidating. And then Duncan, this design would look, too similar, both being these intimidating gothic guys. But luckily, I think this design looks way different from the one that got Duncan later. And you'll see what I mean later. Next up is Duncan's character design mixed with Courtney's stereotype concept. This is just a really weird one to try and implement. I don't know how to explain Courtney's design, but it's perfect for her. I have no idea how to implement it onto basically anyone else. Especially not a guy. The look just doesn't look the same. So I had a lot of struggles trying to figure out what to do with Duncan's clothes, but eventually I kind of ended up going on like a sort of student sort of a look. You'll see what I mean. Anyway, this is what I did. Again, first thing first, like Gwen, had to get rid of the sort of gothic look, got rid of all his piercings, got rid of the mohawk. I also got rid of his unibrow, because, that's sort of bad manners, which isn't Courtney's sort of thing. So he'd want to look a bit more groomed. I also widened his eyes a bit, because his normal eyes kind of had this look of like, I don't care, but he's supposed to look like he cares a little bit now, because, he's obsessive over working well. I didn't want to do anything too crazy with the hair, making it look like super formal, like gelled back and stuff, because he's still a teenager. I didn't want him to like look like a CEO or something. That would have been kind of over the top. So I just kind of gave him some normal black hair, a little messy. I just wanted to look normal compared to his mohawk. Also, I think the hair being a bit messy kind of connects to Courtney's stereotype in the sense that she has a stereotype, but she's very intentionally lying about being this perfect, kind person because she's very crazy. You see later in the series. So the messy hair on Duncan here can kind of be like a foreshadowing. As for the clothes, again, kind of went for a student sort of vibe. Gave him a very basic button-up shirt for sweater vest. I feel like that was the best way to go. And then I just gave him some basic black slacks for the bottom. I did move his legs up a lot because, as we know, for his original design, he's like 20% leg height, so I wanted him to look a bit more normal, so I moved those up to make it look a bit more natural. Originally, I actually had his pant legs more connected to his legs to look a bit more formal, but Duncan's actual leg width, like going all the way up, it is so creepy, so I just decided to scrap that. And then for the shoes, just some, basic ass dress shoes. I do like this design for Duncan. I do think it's interesting seeing Duncan like this. I just think I'm not too into it because it just looks a little too basic for me. I don't think there's anything super creative done here. I just didn't know how to give him more features without making him drift away from his stereotype of Courtney. Next up, we have Lindsay's character design mixed with Tyler's stereotype. This one actually was very easy for me to see. I don't really have much to say to it. I think just seeing the designs. So see what I did. Yeah, it was a very obvious thing that clicked in my head that she's supposed to be an athlete, so cheerleader very quickly came to my mind. I feel like it perfectly matches Lindsay to still kind of have that cute look, but also very easily giving that excuse of like looking clumsy, looking uncoordinated, which also kind of works out because in a sense Lindsay and Tyler are kind of like the same character. They're both very clumsy, both very stupid. The only key difference is that Tyler's an athlete, Lindsay's a fashion person. So the only real difference I made with Lindsay just made her a cheerleader. I changed her headband into a more athletic one to one look like Tyler's headband, and two also kind of keep Lindsay's little headband thing she's got going on her original design because I thought that was a cool thing to kind of try and keep in there somehow. And then everything else, it's just the basic cheerleader design. Alter her skirt so it's longer. Made her top cover her cleavage more because I imagine like since this is a school cheerleader outfit, they wouldn't be fine with that much cleavage showing. And made it a bit more crop toppy. And then obviously I also switched out Lindsay's big high heels for more athletic wear. And besides that, that's all I really have to say. Because I just really like this look for Lindsay. So I really like this one. Next up we have Trent's character design mixed with Izzy's stereotype. This one's odd because I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was. But naturally once I started working with something, instantly some thoughts already came to mind. And I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. I feel like it has the perfect mix of everything I've been talking about. I feel like I did something creative. It matches the stereotype I'm going for and it still looks like Trent. Here's what I did. First things first, I made his eyes a bit more wider, made him look a little more crazy. Also decided to make his eyebrows look a little more snarky. Not like he's glaring exactly, but more like he does have some, I don't know, dubious intent. Also messed with his hair to make it look more messy, more long, a bit more unkempt. I considered for a bit if I was going to do something more roughly with circular shape, like the bottom of Izzy's hair. Though with Harold's design already having the afro and ginger hair like Izzy, I figured it would just look a little too similar to Harold, so I decided to scrap that idea. Got rid of Trent's long sleeve shirt with a different interest of a tank top, since I feel like that matched more of the hunter-like look, which is also why I decided to give it the camo. I always thought Trent's handprint on his shirt was a bit weird, but for this one it actually worked pretty well, kind of having a primal, crazy look. So I decided to keep it, but instead I made it brown, so it looks more like mud, again adding to that kind of primal look. And I also added some tied-up cloth on his right arm, similar to the tied-up cloth around Izzy's waist. And as for the pants, pretty generic, just kind of black pants, bit worn in. And for the shoes, the same sort of deal. Kept the design and general color scheme. I just also added laces so they looked a little bit more like, I don't know, hiking boots or something a bit more outdoorsy. I don't feel like there's anything here that I would have changed differently. I feel like it has all the parts I wanted. I did consider adding war paint under his eyes, kind of similar to Commando Zoe's look, but once I did it, I felt like it looked a little too out there. Again, these characters are all supposed to be teenagers, so I still wanted him to look like a realistic teenager. I didn't want him to look like a full, crazy caveman person. And overall, I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. I did think it was going to be difficult just because the natures are very different. Trent's design is supposed to be this calm, relaxed guy, but it turns out it's kind of easy to make him look like a crazy person, which, who knew? Next up is Courtney's character design mixed with Lindsay's stereotype. I don't think I really have a lot to say to this. I think seeing it will allow you to see more what I was trying to go for, so here's what I did. Yeah, she looks a little, drugged out. I tried to increase the size of her pupils to make her look a bit more friendly, a bit more innocent, a little less concentrated. And it's a really weird relationship I have with these pupils now because they were like one of the first things I did and I thought they looked really weird. And at the end of the design, I switched them back because I just thought they looked a little too out there. But the second I got rid of them, they just didn't look right. So now I do like the pupils and I think the pupils do make her look a bit more innocent. I just think there's kind of like a curve off of them. At first, they look really, really weird, but eventually I kind of got used to them and now I think they look good. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one with that opinion and they do just look like shit. But I personally like them. And besides the pupils, I didn't change too much on Courtney's face. I did get rid of the single hair strand in Courtney's face that's going down, just for the simple fact that I didn't feel like it matched the sort of proper, stylish look. If Courtney was with the stereotype, she'd want to make sure her hair looks perfect all the time, so that wouldn't be there just naturally. I also tried to bring the freckles in between her eyes out a bit more just because I feel like they're a really cute feature that were already on Courtney originally, so I want to try to implement them a bit more. Now as for the outfit, it's a pretty generic outfit. This is a nice little short sleeve crop top and a short skirt. I ended up going for this sort of peach color for the clothes. Originally I gave her a red top and a black short skirt, but that ended up looking a bit too sophisticated. Ended up making her look less like, you know, pretty cute girl and more like sophisticated, mature, which isn't really like Lindsay's vibe. Also just for later, there was another girl who also got sort of the pretty person, so I wanted to save that for her because I felt like it matched her more. So I kept this more innocent design for Courtney because I feel like that matches Lindsay's stereotype a bit better. And the boots, pretty generic. They're just Lindsay's. I decided to make them not look as skinny heel top because I feel like that implies a much more thin, long figure that you have on Lindsay. So I think it just would have stuck out a little too much on Courtney's shape because her shape's a bit more wide. So I just tried to make the boots a bit more fitting to her frame. Next up is Ezekiel's character design, mixed with Duncan's stereotype. Now this is one that I didn't struggle with coming up for ideas, but god, does it just look weird. You'll see, it looks strange. I think the biggest reason why it looks so odd is that Duncan's stereotype is supposed to invoke this feeling of intimidation. You know, this big, scary, delinquent looking guy. And Ezekiel, he's short, not very strong or broad shoulders, so he just doesn't look very intimidating, even with the design. He doesn't look not intimidating, but he just kind of looks like shifty more than anything. Here's what I did for him. I changed a lot of his head. I got rid of the hat since I just didn't feel like it was needed anymore. Changed the hair to be dyed with Duncan's color scheme, which is the green, black. I also cut off his mullet part at the end because I feel like that mullet part was just, it was more homeschooly than it was like delinquent. Also, you'll see later the character that got Ezekiel's stereotype, I gave them the mullet because I feel like it matched them a lot more and I didn't really want two guy characters with the mullet. That felt a little unnecessary. Gave him Duncan's piercings on the ear and the ones on his eyebrows. I also made his eyebrows grimace down into a sinister look. For the shirt, I tried to deviate a bit more from Duncan. I didn't want to just do a carbon copy of a shirt, especially not the design in the middle. I didn't want to do a never skull, so I opted instead for an anarchy symbol because that obviously matches the criminal style a lot. And I didn't really want to give him Duncan's choker spike things. I feel like that looked a little too gothic for Ezekiel, and when he didn't have anything on his neck, he looked a little skinny up there. So I decided to give him a little green bandana, you know, implied for him robbing stuff, him robbing stores, whatnot. So that adds on to his criminal character. As for the pants and shoes, pretty generic. I kept them the same as they were on Ezekiel. I just changed the colors a bit to look a bit more darker. I also added some stars onto Ezekiel's shoes for stars as in wanted level. That's kind of a deep cut reference to GTA. But still, I thought it was a nice little Easter egg and I thought it added a bit more character to his design. I like the vibe he gives. It's just not the same vibe that I emulate from Duncan. It's nowhere close to me. Again, simply just because like that intimidation factor. He looks more like a, I don't know, like a little shithead more than anything. But still, I think the design's good. Next up is Eva's character design, mixed with Bridget's stereotype. I had very little idea for direction for doing this one. I had very, very little idea, because I didn't want to make her look exactly like Bridget. I didn't want to just add the hoodie, I didn't want to just add the shorts. I could have just gave her the same haircut and stuff, but like all that felt a little too much. I wanted to try and be a bit more creative, making it look a bit more like a nature girly, but tell me what you think. Obviously, I had to change a ton with her face. She has an extremely aggressive face, so I dropped the unibrow, tried to give her a bit more of a peaceful eyebrow expression, changed that frown upside down, and I also made her eyes a bit wider so she doesn't look like she's glaring at everyone. I took her hair out of the ponytail just because there's already a couple of other girls that have the ponytail thing, so I feel like she doesn't really need it. Also, I think the hair let down is just a very natural look that she would like. The shirt is where I struggled a decent amount. Originally, I just kind of had it as a normal short-sleeved purple bluish shirt. but I ended up adding this wave design to it. So I feel like that was a very subtle design to have across her shirt as waves, you know, surfer girl, it matches. And for the shorts, I kind of wanted them to look a bit more like swim trunks more than anything, and I ended up making them brown since I feel like that complements Eva's colors the best. And I changed out Eva's aggressive workout athletic footwear for a more hippie sort of sandal look, and then gave her the color, and then gave the sandals the color scheme that her shirt already emulates. Again, I don't know how to feel about this one. I like the way it looks. I think she looks cute, and I like the thing about it. I don't know, there's something about it that doesn't look right. I think the parts that are supposed to be creative look a bit more flat than anything. I don't know. I don't think this one's bad, and I could imagine her with a surfboard. I could imagine her taking over Bridget's role. Something's just missing, and I don't know what. Next up is Cody's character design, mixed with Ezekiel's stereotype. This one, you know what, don't make anything to say, just check it. Yeah, it's not very good. I am fairly confident in saying that this is probably in my bottom 5, maybe even bottom 3 of designs I did. I had no clue what to do with this. I feel like Ezekiel's clothes for like homeschool were perfect, but I didn't want to copy them exactly because I felt like that was cheap. But now looking at the final design, I probably should have just copied the clothes because this looks a little I actually don't think the head and face is that bad. I altered Cody's eyes so that he looked a little more beady-eyed, a little more squinty, so he looks a little more tired, a little more conditioned, I guess. I also gave him Ezekiel's hat because I just thought that was a nice feature, as well as adding the mullet on the end since I feel like that was kind of a given for the hairstyle. The hoodie, obviously emulating Ezekiel's hoodie, just with a bit of a different color scheme, and then the pants are just, I don't know, they're just basic jeans that kind of look a little scrumpy around the crotch, because I couldn't really figure out Cody's body shape from his crotch because he has that long loose shirt and this was tight, so I struggled with that. And then I ended up keeping the shoes basically 100% the same. I just changed the bottom to be darker green so they match Ezekiel's more green centered shoes, but besides that, that's all of this. I don't like this one that much. I really am not a fan of this one. Next is Tyler's character design, mixed with Trent's stereotype, and this is one that I thought looked bad for a long time. I did a lot of variations, I didn't like it, but then I made one very small change and suddenly I felt like it didn't actually look that bad and I was pretty happy with it. The biggest issue I had with this is just trying to figure out what Trent's stereotype exactly is, because it's not very clear. Like in a lot of promotional stuff, he's kind of promoted as like the normal guy. That's kind of a stereotype, the normal guy. I even looked at the label that they gave him on the show and it's literally just the cool guy. He is not given much, so I just kind of had to go for like the sort of hippie guitarist cool guy vibe, which is the best kind of guideline I could have. And with that in mind, this is what I did for Tyler's design. Generally, I kept everything about his head and face the same. His face features already match Trent a lot. He has the eyebrow thing going on with a wrinkle thing in the middle. The eye shapes are like basically identical. These half circles that are squinted, and their smiles are even identical. So luckily his face was basically 100% correct. I didn't even want to mess with it because it looked perfect to me. Again, with the clothes, he was just a stereotype of like a normal guy, so I didn't really have an idea what to do with them. So I just kind of went basic black jean jacket, red shirt, gray jeans, and a buckle. There's nothing really too special about it, but I do like the way it looks on Tyler. I think it suits him really nicely. But I do think the black jean jacket does not look like a jean jacket at all. I tried messing with stitches and stuff to try and make it look like it. I didn't get it. It just ended up making it look worse. And the shoes, basically the same idea. I didn't feel the need to redraw the shapes because Trent's shoes are also kind of just like this tennis shoe, so I didn't feel the need to change the design. I just made them more color centered around the reds. It just kind of matches his color coordination a bit better. Also, I think a bunch of other characters I gave white shoes, so I didn't want to keep them the white shoes. And while saying all that, I will now say the feature that I did that changed this design a lot for me that I actually kind of like it now. And that is Tyler's hair. I don't know what it is about Tyler's hair, but I added that little kind of emo fringe in the front with the bangs, and that instantly made Tyler to me look way better. I feel like I could have actually envisioned this more and envisioned him with a guitar, envisioned him like this really deep guy. So with this one, I don't know how to feel because I think the design lacks character, but at the same time, Trent intentionally lacks character. So it's like, I think I did well for what I was given, which was intentionally a character that is supposed to be normal and not have anything creative about them. But because the fact that it's a not creative character with nothing really special about them, I just don't really care for this design. I do think it looks well for what I was supposed to do. I'm just not that big a fan of it. Next up is Owen's character design, mixed with Beth's stereotype. Now this one was a little tough because I don't know what Beth's stereotype really is. She's just kind of this geeky girl, little obsessive. I just didn't really know how to implement that because it's a really like sort of niche thing. I didn't know much I could add to Owen without making him look like just straight up like a dork. So yeah, this is what I came up with. First off, I switched his hair to kind of a slicked back, sort of gross greaser look a little. And I mostly kept his face shape the same since I didn't feel like there was a reason to change it. However, I did give him an open teeth smile so I could show off braces on him because Beth had braces and I think the braces are a big part of this look here. As for this shirt, I gave him this green sweater with this orange design because I feel like the green and orange kind of mix with this dorky sort of aesthetic. And the sweater makes him just look a bit more uniform, a bit more centered as opposed to his visual design. It's kind of a little janky around the sleeve length. So I just wanted something that kind of evened his body out a bit more. Also, I decided to add Beth's buttons onto his shirt just because I thought that was a nice little feature that she has that matches the aesthetic, so I added that onto Owen. I gave him longer pants since I feel the shorts kind of undersell his general shape, his general look. The long baggy pants just kind of suit his style a bit more. I also changed him to normal jean color since that sort of green with the top green just did not go at all. And then same sort of thing with the shoes. They're basically the same. I just changed the color of the shoes to black since that sort of green did not mesh well with the shirt. So I'm not 100% sure how I feel in this one. I don't think he looks bad. I like the way he looks. I think the aesthetic is there. It's just like something feels a little off about him. Maybe I should have gave him glasses or something to kind of fully put out the dork geek look. But I didn't want to lean into that too much because I still wanted him to look like cheerful. I wanted him to look joyful. Kind of like Beth, you know, she has this dorky look but she doesn't look like depressed or sad or cynical. She has this very intentionally upbeat look. So I wanted to keep that part of Owen. I feel like that was drifting away from Beth's character. Next up is Noah's character design, mixed with Heather's stereotype. This one is complicated for one big reason, and that is that Heather is supposed to look somewhat intimidating. Her character is supposed to be this bitchy, intimidating presence. When she first came on Island, everyone was gasping at her. They knew that this was a bad person. They were intimidated by this bad person. But Noah just doesn't have that feature because he's short. He doesn't exactly have a tough build. He's pretty scrawny. I didn't know how to make Noah exactly look intimidating, and I still don't think he looks that intimidating. So I mainly just leaned more into like Heather's vanity side, you know, this rich girl, accessorizes well, and ended up doing this. First off, I altered his face heavily just because his original face is very snarky, and even though Heather does kind of have that vibe, she doesn't nearly have it as much as Noah, and where she's constantly joking around, she's constantly making fun. She has this more bitchy, I don't care attitude, and I want to resemble that more in Noah, so I got rid of his smirky eyebrows. I kind of made him more neutral, and I got rid of his smile just because Heather's also not really smiling, so I feel like it matched him a bit more. I cleaned up Noah's hair a bit to make him look a bit more stylized, again wanting to lean into a bit of that rich vanity side. So I got rid of his back mullet and tried to make his hair a bit more compressed so it actually looked a bit more orderly. For the shirt, I kind of kept some parts of it the same. I just got rid of that back sleeve long part and I made it a bit thinner so it looks a bit more tight on him, a bit more formal, a bit more orderly again. And I chose purple for the color, obviously, because purple represents wealth, represents vanity. So that was a very subtle clue to give him this look. And I also gave him a little gold bracelet on his right arm just because I feel like that's a nice accessory that didn't interfere with anything. As for the pants, they're just basic black slacks. I changed that from his shorts because the shorts very obviously aren't orderly or clean, but the slacks are a bit more. And I also switched out the shape of his sort of hiking boots and more basic black sneakers. Next up is Katie's character design, mixed with Owen's stereotype, and this was really difficult for, I imagine you know why. Not saying anything about Owen's exact stereotype, but there's a certain feature he has on his body type that allows for that Katie does not have. So I didn't know exactly what to do with Katie. I just kind of wanted to have that sort of slobbish feel, so I kind of just made her look a bit more unkept, a lot less girly, more lazy. You'll see what I did. So obviously with making her look a bit more slobbish, first things first is you take that hair out of the pigtails. I also got rid of her bangs since bangs are a very counterintuitive idea for a lazy thing because bangs are very hard to maintain, to keep. So I don't imagine a slobbish version of Katie would want to keep bangs because that's like against the philosophy of her being lazy. I kept her eyes the same since another part of Owen's character is this optimistic sort of kid-like wonder. So I figured her wide eyes already kind of resembled that, so I didn't feel the need to change that. But I did also get rid of her pink lipstick because I didn't think that was needed. And also the pink lipstick is obviously just very much a thing for the Katie and Sadie design, which she's not emulating anymore. I tried to give her this sort of white baggish shirt, but I don't feel like it really matches her fully. I think she loses a lot of shape of her original character design, which I guess is fine because it's supposed to be baggy clothes. She's not supposed to have it as much. But if you look at where her waist meets in the middle of her original design, she's very, very thin there, but you can't even tell that on the new one. Again, that's fine. It doesn't really matter for the design itself. I just feel like you lose a little bit of that character part, but it's whatever. And I was considering giving her sweatpants instead of the cyan basketball shorts I gave her instead. But I think a really weird, unique thing to remember of Owen is that he's lazy, but he's not, like, unwilling, if that makes sense. Like, if you look in the first season, he does go out of his way to do physically draining activities, even though he knows he can't do them. He doesn't complain and, like, just not do it. He does try to do them, so I wanted to kind of resemble that a little bit in Katie by having her wear basketball shorts, because that's not a very restrictive clothing. It allows her to still try and do all the activities. So I figured figured that was the best way to go for pants. And for her shoes, I just switched out her high heels for more Owen's sort of sneakers design, because obviously she needs sneakers, and she needs Owen's sneakers because what I said earlier. She does try to do physical challenges, so she needs tennis shoes. And I had them emulate a lot of Owen's colors because I feel like nothing else really matched her. I don't really like it. I don't think it emulates Owen's character, but at the same time that I keep looking at it and saying it doesn't look good, I also just keep saying I don't know what else I would have done. I had very little ideas of what to do with this design. So I guess I'm happy with how it looks in the sense that this is better than what I thought it was going to be. It just still doesn't look that good to me. Next up is Lashana's character design, mixed with Jeff's stereotype. Now this one was tough in just the idea of how I make Lashana look the sorority girl type, because Jeff is very frat boyish, so it's like, how do I make Lashana emulate sorority girl without making her look bitchy or fake or like mean, because Jeff is not any of those things. He's a very weird case of like, his character is very intentionally this fat boy who likes partying and having a good time, but there's no like actually shitty quality about him, you know? He's a good guy. He just has this look of a fat boy. And I wanted to keep that with Lashana. I wanted to make her look like, you know, she likes to party, she likes to hang out, she's very sociable, but I didn't want to make her look bitchy, and I especially didn't want to make her look slutty at all. Jeff here very much freeing the pecs. And obviously I'm not talking about just doing that with Lashana with the boobs. I wasn't ever thinking about showing her boobs, trust me, but I was worried of just like making her clothes look a little too skimpy and things like that. I didn't want to do that because that just didn't feel right. So here's what I ended up doing instead. Very sort of neutral design. I didn't touch her face at all because her face is perfect for this sort of thing in my opinion. Lashana already does kind of emulate, you know, sociable, likable party person, so the face was perfect to me. I didn't want to change anything about that. But I did take the weave out of her hair since I figured letting her hair down kind of resembles more of this party, free spirit vibe. And it takes some inspiration from Jeff's original design. I decided to give her a little gold necklace, similar to the one Jeff has, but I made it look a bit more shiny, a bit more pure in color because I wanted it to stick out a bit more. And then for the clothes, I just went for this dress. I feel like the dress covers all the parts I wanted. It's a very stylish, pretty dress that shows off a free party style but also keeps a level of class. I originally just had it of the color, but it looked a little bland, so I ended up adding the circle pattern to give it a bit more shape and dimension. As well as if you look below her right hand, you'll notice I added a stitch in the dress because I thought that would look cute. And as for the shoes, I just kept the sandals because Jeff has sandals, Lashana had sandals, and I feel like any sort of proper footwear would have kind of taken away from the free spirit vibe that it's supposed to have. I did originally consider trying to add Jeff's hat onto this design, and there is one I think I have with the hat on, but it doesn't look particularly good. The hat is too much of like a free spirit vibe mixed with the class in the dress, so it's like it was a little too much of a disconnect there. This is probably one of my top 5 designs I've done. It's very simple, but I was really happy with how I was able to juggle all the concepts out in my mind. Next up is DJ's character design mixed with Cody's stereotype. Now this one's a little weird. No, actually I'm going to cover it first and then talk about it more. Now this one was a little weird because I didn't know fully how to mix. I didn't want to make DJ look too geeky, I didn't want to make him look too nerdy, but I still wanted to have this element of like clever guy, which is essentially what Cody is. So first off, I got rid of his hat just because I felt like that was kind of more of a staple of the DJ mama boy character, so I feel like letting his hair out made him look a bit more defined in a different way. I also got rid of his beard because it felt very manly for the design I was going for, and I kind of wanted to have this more boyish charm to him, and the beard kind of took away from that. As for the shirt, it came very simply to me. I had the short sleeve sweater with the green design still, since I feel like the green just really matches DJ well. And to kind of match Cody's sort of two-shirt thing going on, I decided to give him another long sleeve underneath that was Cody's color. And to also take more inspiration from Cody's design, I took the sort of stripes he has in his shirt and added that to DJ's. However, I gave him dark orange stripes instead of the green and red ones, just because the orange matches his color a lot better. It complements him way better. I ended up turning his shorts into long jeans since I feel like that matches the look a lot better. And I switched out his sandals for sneakers like Cody's, and I took a lot of inspiration from Cody's original sneakers just because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do for DJ. So yeah, I will say I like this one a lot. I think it has all the parts I wanted. He looks really cute to me. He's got a really innocent look to him, but he still looks smart, immature. The only thing I'd say about him is that he doesn't look exactly like as childish as Cody, but look at the size of him. I can't exactly make him look childish. He's built as a full-grown man, so I kind of had to give up on that part. And for our last design to cover today, it is Heather's character design mixed with Justin's stereotype, which is very, very simply just he's hot. So basically I just made Heather attractive. There weren't any real difficulties with this. I feel like Heather already has a very natural, pretty look, so I just kind of emulated some other things to make her look a bit more model-like, and here's what I did. First off, I gave her the kind of creepy eyes thing that Justin has, where he has actual pupils. I feel like that was a very easy way to give her those pretty eyes that he has. I also switched out her eyebrows, making them a bit more longer, a bit more shape to kind of round out her eyes. And I also ended up making her hair a lot longer and a lot wavier because I feel like that was generally more stylized. As for the clothes, I feel like Heather's clothes already matched perfectly what I wanted. They're pretty, but they're also mature in a sense, and I feel like they already really match a model sort of theme, so I didn't mess with them. I just recolored the top to red while also giving her long sleeves, and recolored the shorts to black while also cutting off that weird little part right above the belt where it's like implying that she put the belt too low, because I feel like that just didn't really make sense for a model look. I feel like she would want to look very proper, want to have all of her accessories look right. And then for her heeled sandals, I kept them the same. I just recolored them with the red at the top. I will say this one's kind of a boring one to end on. I didn't do anything super crazy here, but I will say it's honestly probably one of my more favorite ones just because it was really easy to do. It was very simple. I just gave her the basic sort of model features, and I feel like it turned out very well. So yeah, and with that, that is the end of this video. Again, sorry for this sort of different style of video. I'm not trying to torture you all waiting for part 2. It will be out soon, and I 100% promise that it will be my next video. I just kind of need to take this break in between because I could not work this week. Even just recording this made my throat sore as hell, so I kind of needed a break this week, but I still want to try and get a video out, so I hope that you can understand that. Most of the time you do. You guys are very, very understanding about me taking breaks of uploading, and I appreciate that. So I hope this wasn't a big letdown and that you did find some sort of enjoyment from this, and yeah, bye.